Good morning. Welcome back. Good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We're so happy you guys are back. And we're going to begin with a really exciting new session. It is my honor to welcome and introduce my good friend Katrina. We have been in many circles in the US together. We've been at 2 conferences together. This is our third. It's an exciting time. Katrina is a midwife in California, and she focuses a lot in empowering and supporting, providing evidence-based care, and really making an extraordinary experience for her clients. She has an associate's and a bachelor's degree, and she graduated from the National Midwifery Institute in 2021. She is a certified professional midwife, and she has been working in birth since 2016. Prior to midwifery, she also was in a helping profession. She is a wife and a mother of 3 beautiful children. And I just found this out. She's also a triathlon Ironman athlete. So that's a very fun thing to see. We are so excited to have her here. She traveled all the way from the United States to present here in India. And so you are going to get a correct time zone connection. As part of our Midwifery Wisdom experience, we took a group of American midwives and traveled all around South India. And so she's had an amazing experience visiting a hospital, a birth center, meeting nurses and doctors. She helped us with our Coimbatore skills and drills training. We have another one coming up here on the 7th. And it's just a great pleasure to introduce Katrina to you. Welcome, and thank you for being here.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm honored to have been given this opportunity to speak with you today at Midwifery Wisdom's first international conference. And for this presentation here, I would like to briefly just kind of discuss what my hopes and my desires are, and then kind of get into what to expect throughout this process. So I would invite you to be as interactive as you would like to be. Feel free to ask questions throughout, and then at the end we will have some time for some questions and some answers. So first, I just wanted to share this quote with you. It's one of my all-time favorite quotes, and I also feel like it has a huge impact on not only being a birth worker, but also for the families that we serve. It's definitely one of the mantras that continues to draw me back in, and I also believe that everybody that has shown up today, that this is also a very meaningful and powerful quote. So whether you're wondering, why you showed up today or how you can implement the information that you're receiving here, I would just like to read this and see if it settles in your body. So Caroline Adams tells us that your life is a sacred journey. It's about change, growth, discovery, movement, and transformation, continuously expanding your vision of what is possible, stretching your soul, learning to see clearly and deeply, listening to your intuition, taking courageous challenges at every step along the way. You are on the path exactly where you're meant to be right now. And from here, you can only go forward, shaping your life story into a magnificent tale of triumph, of healing, of courage, of beauty, of wisdom, of power, of dignity, and of love. So a little bit about me here. My journey into birth work really began in 2013 with prenatal yoga. So as Augustine mentioned, I'm a wife and a mother of 3. I'm a licensed midwife and certified professional midwife on the Central Coast of California. I hold 2 degrees in psychology. I am a forever student, so I'm a certified labor and bereavement doula, a childbirth, lactation, and new parent educator, and a yoga instructor. I'm also a stage 3 endometriosis warrior. And for me, this diagnosis and the treatment was an opportunity for me to really see that more Western approach to healthcare and a holistic approach to healthcare. So it really opened my eyes to comprehensive and compassionate care, which I personally believe every person deserves. I'm also an Ironman triathlete, a breastfeeding advocate, and a forever student. I'm a lover of nature, animals, and everything birth. I have an intentionally small and intimate practice that allows me to first and foremost be a dedicated mother to my children and a dedicated and available midwife to the families in my care. So let's jump into the nitty-gritties. In this presentation, we're going to go over some of the objectives that I hope that you will see, some terminology and definitions. So you'll see throughout, we're going to define a lot of terms, really breaking them down. So throughout the sessions that have happened today with Barbara, she's come across and explained some really incredible things. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the topics that have been discussed. We're going to discuss why this topic is important, go over a birth story, and then go into the applications of how to incorporate this into the work that you're already doing. And then we'll have our questions and answers. So birth matters. It brings us into being on many levels. So let's get into our objectives. So these are some things that you can get as you walk out. So my hope is that everyone will walk out of here with a little piece of inspiration, some additional knowledge on body sovereignty and physiologic birth. And so those things are going to include understanding the concepts of true bodily sovereignty, learning practical skills from a community-based midwifery practice, the knowledge of the interconnectedness of natural and physiologic birth and emotional well-being. And you should be able to recognize the impact of this intersection on positive birthing experiences. So I would like to just pause here and ask, what is physiologic birth? What is bodily sovereignty? And for some of you, you might not know. You might say, that's why I showed up. I don't know. And some of you may have a clear idea of what these definitions and terms mean. And some may be applying them into the practices that you're already doing and with the families that you're already serving. So I truly believe that understanding the terms that we're using is going to have a very beneficial impact on this presentation. So we're going to take some time to really define the terminology that we'll be using. So some of the key terms and definitions here is physiologic birth. So this is the natural process of labor and childbirth without unnecessary medical interventions. So physiologic birth really emphasizes the body's innate ability to give birth and aims to support the natural progression of labor while minimizing medical interventions, allowing the birthing process to unfold as naturally as possible. So with physiologic birth, we're thinking spontaneous, we're thinking natural on the body's own timeline and free of unnecessary interventions. And then moving into bodily sovereignty. So this is the principles that individuals have the inherent right to autonomy and agency over their own bodies. In the context of childbirth, bodily sovereignty emphasizes the right of individuals to make decisions regarding their birthing experiences, encompassing choices related to medical intervention, birthing positions, and overall care preferences. So the birthing person has the right to accept or to decline anything that's offered to them while being given informed consent, reviewing all of their additional options at that time and without any pressure or biases from their provider. Moving into the definition of a holistic care model, and you'll see as we move through the next several terms that each builds off the last. So a comprehensive approach to healthcare that considers the physical, emotional, mental, and social well-being of an individual is the holistic care model. In the context of childbirth, this recognizes that interconnectedness and nature of the aspects that aim to provide personalized and women-centered care that addresses the whole person. So moving into women-centered care, this approach prioritizes the unique needs, preferences, and experiences of that individual woman. So what we're talking about here is recognizing that individually, every person has their own ideals, their own wishes, their own traumas, their own desires. So really involving them in the decision-making process throughout the entire birthing process. And then I like to take it one additional step further and discuss family-centered care models. So we have a women-centered care, and then we also have family-centered care. This is something that's very near and dear to my heart. And in my practice, I really like to include family-centered care to make sure each unit of the family is recognized and celebrated as the family expands. So family-centered care is an approach to healthcare that recognizes the family as an essential and collaborative partner in the care and the well-being of the individual. So especially with medical treatment and support. This model also emphasizes open communication, mutual respect, and shared decision-making between healthcare providers and the family unit. So again, acknowledging that the family's unique dynamics, cultural background, and preferences. So finding that individualized and unique care. So this can extend to partners, to children, to aunts, to grandmas, anyone in that family circle that is looking for that additional support. Empowerment. So empowerment is the process of enabling and encouraging individuals to take control of their lives, make informed decisions, and assert their rights. So in the context of childbirth, empowerment really involves supporting individuals and actively participating in decision-making, advocating for their preferences, and feeling confident in their ability to navigate the birthing experience without trauma. Informed decision-making is the process of gathering relevant information, understanding all options available, and making choices based on that knowledge. In the context of childbirth, informed decision-making empowers individuals to actively participate in their care, ensuring that their choices align with their values, preferences, and the best available evidence. So, with this process of gathering all necessary information, we have to ensure that it's free from biases and that the families are allowed to make decisions with all of their options available. One of the things I like to discuss with my families is the decision that's right for me is not the decision that's right for other families. So I truly believe that the family knows what is best for them and their family. And we simply can just provide all of the information, allow them to make the decision that's best for them and their families, and then support them in that role. So this model really empowers our clients to ensure that their choices are aligning with their values and their individual needs. I just love this image. This was taken by one of my very good friends, actually the doula of my second child. So I asked if we could include this image in this presentation, and she was very happy to share. So as you can see, just the emotions are so loud in this image. You can see there's no one's hands on this baby except for mom. So baby was just born. As you can see, mom is ecstatic. She's exhausted. She's in love. And she just has that look of relief of like, we did it. So that mama baby dyad working together was able to have this beautiful experience where you can see again firsthand that there's no additional hands or interventions, really guarding that golden moment between mom and baby. So if there's one takeaway from today's discussion, I hope it's this. Our world is in dire need of providers who not only support physiologic birth and bodily sovereignty, but also acknowledge this interconnectedness of physical and psychological wellness and the overwhelming need for comprehensive, individualized care and support. So why is this intersection between bodily sovereignty and physiologic birth important? So bodily sovereignty, again, is that fundamental right of individuals to have autonomy and control over their own bodies, decisions, and experiences, particularly in the aspects of healthcare, childbirth, and personal well-being. So physiologic birth emphasizes the body's natural process. So again, we're talking spontaneous, natural, intervention-free. When we place individuals at the center of their birthing journey, opposed to placing the provider at the center of the journey, this really marks this paradigm shift in maternal care. So it promotes a more holistic, empowering, and respectful model that aligns with diverse needs and choices. So this is so important. So I'm going to say it one more time. Placing individuals at the center of the focus marks a monumental shift that promotes holistic, empowering, and respectful models of care that not only align with diverse needs and choices, but also yield higher levels of satisfaction. So moving further into our journey, let's get into the principles of autonomy and agency during the childbirthing process. So principles of autonomy and agency include informed decision-making, respect for choices and preferences, and open communication. So informed decision-making involves the process where individuals receive comprehensive, unbiased information about options, potential risks, benefits, really empowering them to actively participate in making choices aligned with their preferences, values, and desired outcomes. This emphasizes autonomy and collaboration between healthcare providers and individuals in this decision-making process. Respect for choices and preferences. So autonomy and agency involve respecting the diverse choices and preferences of the individual during childbirth. So this includes considerations such as birthing positions, pain management, and the level of medical intervention, allowing individuals to shape their birthing experience according to their own unique needs and history. Open communication. Open communication establishes respectful communication between providers and birthing individuals, and it's essential for upholding autonomy. So through transparent discussions, we as providers can create an environment where individuals feel comfortable expressing their wishes, their concerns, and their uncertainties, fostering a collaborative and trust-based relationship. This allows our clients in care to ask questions and truly feel supported throughout the entire process. So an often overlooked factor in childbirth is emotional well-being. Emotional well-being during labor can be influenced by various factors. Sort of this triad of balance encompasses physiologic birth, emotional wellness, and mental resilience. And while I can provide a general overview and insights, it's essential to note that emotional experiences are subjective and individual responses may vary. So this is why it is so imperative to ensure that individualized care is a foundational pillar in the maternal care. There is a delicate balance between physiologic processes, emotional well-being, and mental resilience. As an informed and compassionate provider, we can foster a healthy relationship between the three to provide respectful, compassionate, women-centered care with the education, knowledge, and skills to step in when needed. So you'll kind of see these three are really overarching and encompassing throughout this entire presentation. So now that we've defined the majority of terms through this presentation, I would also like to define mental resilience. Mental resilience in labor refers to the individual's ability to adapt, to cope, and to maintain psychological well-being in the faces of challenges, stressors during the childbirth experience. So again, by having that relationship of unique individualized care with open communication and trust, we can be there as that foundational support and pillar for our clients. Oftentimes we see clients in transition that get to that point where they don't think they're ever going to have a baby. They feel like they're going to be pregnant forever and they're done. I can't do it, right? It's too hard. I'm done. What can I do? And at that moment, with that relationship that we've built throughout their entire prenatal process, we're able to step in, whether that's simply a grounding touch to the shoulder, to the hips, looking them in the eyes and telling them, I believe in you, you can do this, your baby's coming soon. Because we often know once we're at the end of that threshold that baby's coming and baby will be here soon. So additional factors that may impact emotional wellness and emotional well-being. Social support and emotional support. Social support refers to the provision of assistance, care, and comfort by individuals within one's own social network. In the context of labor, having a strong support system can significantly impact emotional well-being. Communication and information in labor. So communication and information in the context of labor refers to this exchange of clear and comprehensive details between healthcare providers and birthing individuals. So effective communication and the provision of relevant information plays a crucial role in shaping emotional experiences during childbirth. Autonomy and decision-making, another factor here. So during labor, this refers to the birthing individual's rights and ability to make informed choices regarding their childbirth experience. So it involves respecting their preferences, their values, their desires, and really allowing them to actively participate in the decision related to their care. So this, again, coming back to that informed consent in decision-making, and instead of simply saying, I'm going to check you now, we can have that conversation of, it's been 5 hours, it looks like your labor is progressing. Would you be open to an exam to see where you're at? And then at that threshold, they can say yes, or they can say no, or they can say maybe in another hour. So they're in control, they're the captain of their ship. Previous birth experiences and emotional well-being. So previous birth experiences refer to the birthing individual's history of childbirth, including any positive or challenging experiences that they have encountered during previous labors or deliveries. And I would actually extend this a little bit further to sisters or aunts or friends or any other births that particular client has been present, particularly those more traumatic experiences. Those are something that really needs to be unpacked and addressed prior to moving into the next birth. Pain management and coping strategies. So pain management and coping strategies in labors encompass the techniques and approaches individuals use to alleviate and cope with the physical and emotional aspects of pain in labor. So, this can be anything in terms of positioning, hydration therapy, food, drink, cold water, cold towel, counter pressure, all of those types of things. And then perceived control in labor. So this refers to the client's individual subjective senses of authority and influences over their childbirth experience. It involves feeling empowered and actively engaged in the decision-making throughout the entire birthing process and postpartum period. Cultural and societal influences. Again, these are going to impact emotional well-being in labor. And it's important to recognize that cultural and society influences are going to be different from place to place and even person to person. So collective beliefs and practices shape the experience of individuals and their process and their perception throughout that labor period. Provider-patient relationships in labor. So again, as we've discussed, it's a very dynamic relationship between healthcare providers. So that's anything from midwives, obstetricians, nurses, anyone that's interacting in that healthcare role, and the birthing client or the birthing person or client. So this relationship truly plays a critical role in shaping the emotional experience for that client. Respectful and dignified care. This really, I believe, needs to be a foundational pillar in your practice. So, respectful and dignified care in labor is a provision of healthcare services that not only honors autonomy, choices, and inherent dignity of the birthing individual, but also supports them, allowing them to feel empowered and peaceful with the decisions that are made and the way that the birth process unfolds. So, with this respectful and dignified care, I would like to just make a little side note and asterisk here to say respectful and dignified care is applied to all births. So, that's whether we're having a physiologic, natural vaginal birth or a cesarean, right? So, that respect and that dignified care should be given in all circumstances, not just those that are having a physiologic birth. Shared decision making in labor. So, this involves the collaborative process between the healthcare providers and the client, where both parties contribute to the decision making process regarding the birth plans, interventions, and care options. So, this is something that you can discuss prenatally. That's what I like to do with my clients when we're discussing labor prepping plans and then actual labor. We can talk about different interventions. If we get to a place in labor, let's say where fetal heart tones are starting to decrease, here's all of our options. If the birthing client isn't well hydrated, we can get them some additional hydration. We can give them an IV. We can change positions. We can do all of these things. And more often than not, that will compensate for the decrease in fetal heart tones. And with some of those changes, we can see them come back up. However, if they continue to stay low and then we're having major decels, then we sort of get to that point where we're thinking that additional interventions are needed. But again, it's that conversation piece and that trust building and that respect that's built throughout the process. So mindful-based intervention, this sort of goes with the last one. So this is involving mindfulness techniques into the way that we're practicing with cultural awareness, our presence, and really a non-judgmental focus on the present moment in childbirth. So one of the things that I like to recommend and that I do with all of my clients in that mindfulness-based practice is ensuring that we're matching the energy of the room. So if we have a client that's laying down or their eyes are closed and they're just, moving on a birthing ball, I'm not going to come in and flip on all the lights and say, hey, I'm here and we're going to do this, right? So it's really matching that energy where I'm going to quietly come in. If the client's in the middle of a contraction, I'm not going to talk to them. I'm going to simply come over and I'm going to kneel down. I like to get below eye level for the majority of my clients. And then once that contraction has ended, if their eyes are still closed, then I'm going to touch them. So that's something that we've built and we've talked about throughout our prenatal care. And my clients have given me informed consent to touch them. And if at any point they do not want to be touched, they have the ability and they feel empowered to tell me not to do it, and I will stop. So coming over when the eyes are still closed and simply placing a hand on a shoulder or the thigh or the back allows them to slowly come out of that place that they've been in labor land and see, oh, okay, my midwife or my provider is here. And then we can have that conversation. So just doing so again in that mindful, non-judgmental pattern, matching their energy and seeing how would you like to be treated if the roles were reversed and you were in the middle of a contraction, right? We don't want the lights on. We don't want bright noises. We don't want someone yelling at us, because not only do we have the inability to comprehend and understand what's going on, but then our rhythm of that physiologic birth is changed. And sometimes when we have too many interventions and too many things are going on, it really breaks that cycle and it makes it more difficult for us to get back into that rhythm of labor land and get back into a rhythm of finding our coping strategies and moving forward with the progression of labor. And then finally, preparation and education. So this is a huge one. I really feel like this is a crucial role in positively influencing emotional well-being. So we're providing the individuals throughout prenatal care with knowledge and skills to navigate the childbirthing process. So understanding the changes and stages of labor is very important. If we know physiologically what's happening in our bodies, especially for our primates, the people that are having a baby for the first time, if they know what's happening, then they can find that mind-body connection of, okay, my provider told me this was the stages. These are the things that might be happening. These are the rotations that baby's making with these cardinal movements as they're descending down, through, and out. So it gives us that ability to really connect mind and body instead of just being simply in the head of wondering, why is this hurting so bad? Why is it taking so long? What is baby doing in there? What is going on, right? We understand the process and we're going back to connecting mind and body. And you'll see with people that are more intuitively connected with their body, they're going to intuitively move, right? So if we have a baby that's asynclitic or in a weird presentation, you'll see a mom or a client throw their right leg up and just naturally start lunging because their body is telling them to do that. They don't know in their head that their baby's asynclitic. Maybe they do if there was a vaginal exam, but allowing them to just intuitively move and listen to their body will ease not only the stresses of labor, but also give them that additional empowerment that they feel like they are doing birth and birth is not being done to them. So education is very important. So stages of labor, potential interventions, as we discussed. So having those conversations prenatally. So then if we do get to those places in labor, the family has already reviewed all of their options and then they know what they're going to do instead of trying to explain everything in between contractions where the family really can't quite grasp the concepts. We also talk about coping strategy, and this reduces anxiety, fears, and uncertainty. So it really contributes to a more positive and informed birthing experience and builds that relationship and trust between provider and client. Okay, so I have a video for you, but before I share it, I would just like to do a little bit of case review. So this case really underscores the importance of honoring autonomy and agency, showcasing a transformative impact of true bodily sovereignty and fostering positive birthing experiences that are both respectful and empowering. So this family is a G3P2, so this was her third baby, and they had a really strong desire for a low intervention physiologic birth. This was her first out of hospital experience after two very traumatic experiences where she felt birth happened to her and she had no autonomy and she did not feel like she was respected. This particular client also said that she never felt like she gave true informed consent, and she was pressured into making decisions without the opportunity to ask questions or review alternative options, and was actually told there were no alternative options when in fact there actually was. So her midwife took the time at all of her prenatal appointments, ensuring that the family could ask all of their questions, discuss any of their concerns. And I will tell you, she came late to care. So this is one of my own personal clients that I love so very much. And she cried crocodile tears at pretty much every single appointment, and not tears out of frustration or anger, but out of relief and out of love. So she said that she had never felt more empowered, and she never knew why so many things happened to her in the hospital and throughout her prenatal and postpartum journey. And she said it was the first time in her life where she truly felt seen and she truly felt informed. Even the informed consents that she can sign, she was like, oh my goodness, I had no idea that this is why they were testing for that, or that these were my other options. So that really empowered her to do additional research and education, and discuss with me to really find out what aligned with her and what were her and her family's wishes and desires. So together we developed a personalized birthing plan that included water immersion, pain relief, intermittent monitoring, which is something we always do at home, and freedom of movement during labor. She went into labor in one of the biggest, most epic storms we had on the Central Coast after about a decade of drought. And so it was very interesting getting to her, but it was a really incredible and transformative experience with her. And I really feel like the storm was symbolic of her reemerging on the other side with a positive and very glorious experience. You'll see in a moment that she's free to move around. She's in her desired birthing space. She has support from her family, from her pets, from her birthing team. And she was continually supported physically and mentally. The birthing environment aligned with her preferences. And as a result, you'll see the positive and empowering birth experience that she had. So this really demonstrates how true bodily sovereignty positively influences and affects the overall well-being and satisfaction of individuals during childbirth. In the immediate postpartum, she grabbed my hand moments after baby was born, looked me in the eyes, and just told me, thank you. Thank you for seeing me, and thank you for believing in me. I feel like you never had a doubt in your mind that I could do this. She had some doubts, but she, throughout her process and explaining everything, she felt supported, and she knew that if anything went awry from the plan that we had discussed, I would have communicated it with her. So she felt safe to continue to labor and just intuitively listen to her body while knowing that safety net of a provider was there in the off chance that something else was needed. So this connection with this family is truly amazing. But what's more amazing than the connection that we had is the ripple effect that it's had on my community. So not only was this a positive experience for this family, but for her immediate family, for her extended family, and for the community at large. So birth truly has this incredible ability to change the way that we live. And I think it's pretty incredible. So that's just a quick little show of her experience, but you can see we didn't have any pictures of her outside, but she spent a lot of time outside walking, inside in the kitchen, in the backyard, on her bed, in the birthing pool, on the birthing stool. I'm just really listening with her body and making changes based on what she felt like she needed in the moment. So, where do we go next? So, now that we have a foundation for change and an understanding for the concepts and definitions that we've gone over, we need to look at implementation. And I think this is one of the hardest concepts to grasp, especially as we're starting to make slower changes into our practices. So, implementation, just like birth, is a process and it takes time. So, today I want to simply focus on three main concepts for implementation. So, we're talking about creating a plan, starting small, and adjusting and adapting. So, creating a plan, establish a plan to foster support for physiologic birth and true bodily sovereignty involves clearly defining the desired changes, identifying key stakeholders, and outlining specific steps in the timeline. So, here we're talking about engaging with healthcare providers and those that work in your facilities, administrators, and staff. So, finding that collaborative and comprehensive approach that aligns with the principles of woman centered care or family centered care. And then starting small. So this is really important. I think sometimes we get so excited about making all of these big changes and we just decide we're going to do everything at once. But it's not realistic and it really disrupts the way that we've already established care with certain clients and with our staff. So my recommendation would be truly to start small. So initiate the change by implementing small, manageable adjustments. So begin with targeted training sessions or workshops for healthcare providers. I'm really emphasizing on the importance of respecting individual autonomy and the physiologic birth process. So, what we're wanting to do here is finding this place where we can start small with gradual integration of new practices while minimizing disruptions to the existing workflow or disruptions in the way that we've served clients in the past. It can be a big shock for them to completely do a 180. So, finding ways that we can start small is effective. That way, we can build on the changes that we're making moving forward. And then adjust and adapt. So, regularly assess the impact of the implementation and the changes that you're making. Gather feedback, and this can be both from your healthcare providers and the birthing individuals, and really stay responsive to the evolving needs and changes, and be prepared to modify accordingly. So, this continual process ensures continuous improvement in a more sustainable way. And also, here, I would like to add that it's very important to stay open minded and receptive to criticism or constructive feedback. This way, your practice can continue to grow and continue to make positive changes for birthing families. So, change for anyone and everyone really is hard. And I think it's important to acknowledge that and to hold space for that, not only for ourselves, but for our staff, for our practices, and for our clients. So, I would really like to express my deep gratitude to each participant who has joined us on this transformative journey today. Your commitment to embracing and championing the principles of physiologic birth, true bodily sovereignty, and women centered care is the driving force behind the change that our world so desperately needs. So, as a collective force, we possess this potential to shift paradigms, to redefine the narrative surrounding childbirth. As a participant in this endeavor, you are not mere observers, but you're catalysts for change. And together we can challenge existing norms, advocate for informed decision making, and elevate the standard of care to improve maternal and fetal outcomes. Through education, unwavering support, and steadfast commitment to true bodily sovereignty, we have the power to empower birthing families, fostering an environment where every individual feels heard, respected, and in control of their unique birthing experiences. So let's carry this forward, the insights gained here, and to continue this crucial work in our communities. Foster a culture of compassion, of understanding, and evidence based practices where we're not only enhancing the childbirth experience, but contributing to a profound societal shift. So, thank you for joining me and being the change agents that our world so desperately needs. And let us continually shift for a future while childbirth is a source of empowerment, of dignity, and of joy for every family. All right, I would like to open up our time here for some questions and answers. If anybody has any, you can drop them in the chat box.
Thank you, Katrina. That was pretty amazing.
Thank
I
you.
think it's a much needed perspective. And I think we have in India specifically, I think we have a very long way to go in making this happen. But I can see it being implemented in small ways, in ways that don't disrupt, as you suggested, right? The existing system, tiny, small changes, and that can really, like, the drops of water in an ocean, that can bring about a huge
Absolutely.
change. And I truly hope that everyone present here today is going to go back and implement those changes, even just touching or asking before holding someone's hand or palpating a belly to find the baby's position, anything and everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Katrina. Yes, that's what I was going to ask next. How do we follow you? There it all is. Thank you.
Yes, let's stay connected.
Okay, friends, I dropped a poll in the chat, so go ahead and answer that. And we, again, have time for some questions and also about 15 minutes before our next presentation. So let's use that time. Such a thorough presentation. No one has any questions. That's a good sign.